Hello and good morning. Welcome to today's presentation, Making Home Safe for a Person Living with Dementia. My name is Kirk Moody, and I'm serving as the moderator today. I'm a former caregiver and a board member of Alzheimer's Los Angeles. The subject of this particular webinar is of particular personal importance to me. About 10 years ago, my wife, Nancy Polakis, wandered from a family visit to the art museum. We were on the way out, and she stopped at the restroom. We both stopped at the restroom. When I finished, Nancy had disappeared. Uh, we called the police. Then we enlisted many, many friends, and family and volunteers, and we looked for her and looked for her and looked for her. Our search continued for 2 years until, tragically, her remains were found. So I beg of you, please listen to our experts today on how to make your home a safer environment for those living with dementia and steps you can take to ensure that if they do wander, they can be quickly found and reunited with you. I would like to thank Union Pacific Railroad Community Ties Giving Program for providing the grant and funding today's webinar. So before we begin, I wanted to just go over a couple of logistics things. First of all of you are all muted. All the attendees are muted. We are accepting questions throughout the presentation and we'll answer them at the end. So please feel free to use the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen if you have any questions as we go along. If you have any technical problems, please put your information in the Q&A and we'll attempt to contact you. And we are recording this presentation, and a link to the recording will be sent to you in an email if you'd like to share it with anybody else in the future or if you need to go over anything. So today's presentation will feature welcome remarks by Supervisor Lindsay Hovarth, the home safety presentation from Alzheimer's Los Angeles, a presentation from LA Found, and then time for questions. So to start off with, we're going to have a welcome message from Supervisor Hahn. Supervisor Hahn has been a champion of Alzheimer's families, and she was on the board of supervisors and really got the LA Found program kicked off through a task force she started called Bringing Our Loved Ones Home. We're very grateful for Supervisor Hahn for all her work to address the wandering in Los Angeles.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Los Angeles County Supervisor Janice Hahn, and I want to tell you a story about Alex and Rose Vargas. Alex was 75 at the time and suffering from Alzheimer's and was prone to wandering. His wife, Rose, was doing everything she could to keep him safe, and one night, after a long day, Rose fell asleep before she was able to push the living room couch in front of the front door like she usually did to prevent Alex from wandering outside. When she woke up around 2 a.m., the front door was open and Alex was gone. Thankfully, she had enrolled Alex in LA Found, a program I launched in Los Angeles County. She called 911 and the sheriff's deputies immediately activated his LA Found bracelet. They found him and brought him home within minutes. I launched LA Found to save lives, but I know it also brings caregivers like Rose peace of mind. Caring for a loved one living with dementia is an act of deep love, and it is also incredibly hard. Families are often doing this work quietly, behind closed doors, trying to keep someone safe while preserving their dignity and independence. You are not alone, and I want LA County and our Department of Aging and Disabilities to be your support system and your partner. Today is about making sure you have support and real information you can use. I want to thank Alzheimer's LA for organizing this event and bringing all of you together today in my district. You'll learn about the LA Found program, how to enroll your loved one, practical caregiver strategies, and what the Department of Aging and Disabilities can offer to help. I know it's not easy to make the time to be in an event like this, but I'm glad you're here, and I hope you leave today feeling more confident, more connected, and more supported.
So now I'd like to introduce Roxy Kokorsian. She's the Associate Director for Community Education at Alzheimer's Los Angeles. Roxy's going to speak about how to make adjustments in your home to make it safer. Roxy?
Thank you, Kirk. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you here today. Today's topic, as you all know already, making home safe for someone with Alzheimer's. So let's get right into it. So today what we will cover is I'll provide you with an overview of dementia and Alzheimer's disease. We will very briefly cover a model that we title Idea Strategy, and we will discuss the 4 most common safety concerns. So first and foremost, what is dementia? We may sometimes use the terms dementia and Alzheimer's disease interchangeably, but they are 2 different things. We want to think about dementia as an umbrella term. Dementia is a general term for a set of symptoms, for a collection of symptoms, including impaired thinking, memory loss, and when that impairment starts to seriously interfere with daily life. There's many different causes of dementia. Alzheimer's disease just happens to be the most common cause. It is estimated that about 60 to 80% of the dementia cases are Alzheimer's. But we also have other causes of dementia, like vascular dementia, mixed dementia, Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's dementia, Huntington's dementia, frontotemporal dementia. And because Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause, about 60 to 80% of the cases, generally when we are talking about dementia, we are talking about Alzheimer's disease. Next, we will watch a short animation clip that will provide us with an overview of Alzheimer's disease and how it impacts the brain.
What is Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's is a progressive brain disease that slowly destroys memory and thinking skills, and eventually the ability to even carry out everyday tasks. An estimated 6.7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's dementia today. Although treatment can help manage symptoms, and for some people, potentially slow it down, there is no cure. But every day, researchers are working hard to develop treatments that will do more than what's available today. Alzheimer's disease develops gradually, and its onset may not be obvious at first. But the damage to the brain begins years before symptoms occur. Let's explore what happens in the brain of a person with Alzheimer's. 2 abnormal protein fragments, called beta amyloid and tau, begin accumulating in the brain, which damage and eventually kill brain cells. These proteins are commonly referred to as plaques and tangles. They start here in the hippocampus, the part of the brain where memories are first formed. As the disease progresses, the plaques and tangles slowly destroy the hippocampus, and it becomes harder for a person with Alzheimer's to form new memories. Simple recollections from a few hours or days ago are just not there. Over time, more plaques and tangles spread into different regions of the brain, killing cells and compromising cognitive and physical abilities. The damage caused by the spreading of the disease results in different symptoms. We use these symptoms to define the different stages of the disease. Eventually, the damage spreads here to this region of the brain, the temporal lobe, where language is processed. When that happens, it gets harder to find the right words or follow a conversation. Next, as the disease progresses, it affects the front of the brain where logical thinking takes place, making it difficult to plan, problem solve, and make decisions. Slowly, it moves to the part of the brain where emotions are formed. When this happens, the person with Alzheimer's gradually loses control over their moods and feelings, and their personality can change. In the later stages, the disease moves on to the areas of the brain that make sense of the world around us, including what we see, hear, and smell. In this stage, Alzheimer's can affect a person's senses and can even cause hallucinations. Eventually, the plaques and tangles cause significant damage throughout the brain as they spread and erase a person's oldest and most precious memories. Finally, the disease impacts a person's balance and coordination. And in the very last stage, it destroys the part of the brain that regulates the lungs and breathing. And then, eventually, it also affects the heart's ability to function. The progression from mild forgetting to death is slow and takes place over time, an average of about 8 to 10 years. Although there's currently no cure for Alzheimer's, there is reason to hope. There are many promising developments on the horizon as breakthrough drugs and treatments are tested and become available. Meanwhile, information, programs, services, and resources are available for families, caregivers, and people living with Alzheimer's. Contact Alzheimer's Los Angeles at 844-435-7259 or our website at www.alzheimersla.org for more information. Until there's a cure, we'll provide the care.
So when we're talking about making the home safer, we're talking about three main strategies. And those strategies are changing the behavior, which sometimes means we have to address the behavior in order to lessen it or prevent it from occurring in the future. And it also means changing the environment, which is about the physical space, changing the physical space, and also changing your thinking. So this is really about our expectations. So the person may not have control over what they are doing. As we saw in the video, there's many different cognitive elements that are impacted by Alzheimer's disease. So when we do set realistic expectations for ourselves and for our loved ones, it does make things a lot easier. Let's go into the next slide. When we talk about the IDEA model, we're talking about three main steps. And the acronym IDEA stands for Identify, Explore, and Adapt. On the next slide, we'll go into a little bit more detail regarding this. So step one, identify, is when we come up with a name. So what would you call this? If you could identify this with a single name, or how would you describe the behavior? This is where we need to be very specific about what's going on and try to answer as many questions as we can. Where is this happening? How often has this been going on? For how long? And it's easier to see patterns and answer these questions when we keep a log and we record when these things occur. So as much information as possible, it will help us to understand what the behavior is. And it's helpful to also understand what was happening before the behavior started in order to identify any possible triggers or give us any cues. What time of the day do you see this happening? And this is critical because we want to see if this is related to sundowning. Sundowning usually occurs in the late afternoons, early evenings, and it can continue into the night as well. And sundowning, there's some sort of a biological shift in the internal clock. So we do see some behaviors occurring during this time of day. It's still not completely understood why, but we do see that there's a lot of increased confusion during this time of day. So it's important to identify when the behavior is happening in order for us to understand and try to lessen it. On the next slide, we'll go into step two. Step two is about exploring and also educating ourselves. Explore is when we learn about the behavior. We want to understand the meaning of the behavior and understand the cause of the behavior. And this is where we try to put our detective hat on and figure out why they are doing what they are doing. So when we try to understand the cause of the behavior, it may not always be obvious. So we have to do a little bit of digging to try to understand, is this related to a health concern, environmental concern? Is it the activity at hand? Or is this a communication issue? So when we are talking about a health concern, this could be related to medications. Are they taking new medications? Are they sick? Are they in pain? And maybe they are and they're unable to express this. Is it related to the environment? Maybe it's too noisy, maybe it's too hot, maybe it's too cold. Is it in a new setting? Maybe they are unfamiliar with the area, the environment. Maybe it's too light, it's too dark. All of these can be triggers, and all of this can impact behavior. Activity. Is the activity too hard? Is the activity too easy? Are they overstimulated? Are they understimulated? All of this can impact the behavior. Maybe there's too many steps involved and it's now more confusing than ever. Is this related to a communication issue? And meaning it's hard for them to keep a conversation going. It's hard for them to speak. It's hard for them to understand what you're trying to say. So a lot of these can be triggers. Again, it may not be obvious. So we do have to do a little bit of detective work to try to understand causing the behavior and to learn more about the behavior. Now we'll go into step 3. This is adapting. This is when we try to adjust the behavior. This is where we take action and try to do something about it. And there's no right answer. There's no right or wrong, but there is an action that we can take to make our loved one feel more comfortable and content, and to make things easier for the caregiver as well. So when we adjust the behavior, we make necessary changes and try to take control. This can sometimes mean changing the environment, changing the physical space. If the behavior is taking place in the living room and is too noisy and too loud, maybe we need to take them into their bedroom where they feel more calm. Maybe they need a distraction, or we need to redirect them to something else. Maybe offer them something to eat, or maybe we can watch something on TV. And we also can address the cause. Maybe if it's related to the task or the activity, we can try to find something more simple, something more easy, realistic for them to do. Or try to find a meaningful activity for them to do, maybe looking at old photographs or listening to some calm music, lighting a soothing candle. Addressing emotional needs. This is also important as well, because they may not always be able to express how they feel or what they're going through, but they will always try to tell you through their behavior. And all behavior has meaning. All behavior occurs for a particular reason, and that's what we're trying to figure out here. Last but not least, we always talk about changing our attitude and our expectations, because caregivers, we're the ones that can change. We can't expect our loved ones with Alzheimer's to change. And everyone is different, but we know our loved ones best. So when we change our attitude and we set realistic expectations, it just makes things a lot more easier for us to manage, and also makes things easier for them as well. Next slide. Okay, now we will go into the common safety concerns. We'll talk about accidents, falls, medications, and getting lost. Going into accidents. So accidents can occur for many different reasons. And when we go into the next slide, we'll talk about why some of these accidents can occur and what we can do to prevent or lessen it from occurring in the future. So some serious accidents. So locking away any knives, any guns, any weapons. This is a great place to start, because as you all know, this can be a very serious and very dangerous situation. And also regarding driving, so preparing for the dangers of driving if an individual with Alzheimer's disease is still driving. So just because there is a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease doesn't mean that they need to automatically and immediately stop driving. It could be the case that they are still continuing to drive. So as the caregiver and as the family member, we need to evaluate to see if it is still safe for them to continue to drive. So first and foremost, if there are any weapons, guns, knives, we need to make sure that they are locked and safely put away. And as far as driving, we're taking the right precautions and safety measures. Going into the next slide. Here are some tips for preventing accidents. So in the kitchen, someone with Alzheimer's disease may have trouble knowing what is dangerous now that may not have been dangerous before. And if sure if they are able to safely navigate their way through the kitchen or use the appliances, you can sort of evaluate to see. And some indications that it is not safe are things that like putting things in the microwave where they don't belong. For example, putting plastic Tupperware in the microwave, or maybe leaving the stove on. Those are some things that you just want to keep an eye on. And if that's continuing to happen, um, uh, those are some pretty good indications that they may need some help. And all individuals with Alzheimer's disease at some point may need some assistance, even in the early stages. So in the kitchen, there's things like anti-scalding devices that can be put on faucets, and this is to control the temperature of the water so there's no burns. There's auto stove turn-off devices that can be installed, or even as simple as removing the knobs off of the stove if there are any cases where the stove has been left on. You can use plastic eating and drinking ware rather than glass or ceramic in case there are accidents where the glass or the ceramic breaks and we don't want them to get hurt. Throughout the house, we can check the chairs and the tables, make sure that they are sturdy with strong backs, and anything that's sharp, like scissors, shears, knives. We want to make sure that those are locked away and not easily accessible, and also cleaning supplies, because of course they're toxic and has the fumes. We want to make sure that they're not accidentally ingested. And locking away kitchen and bathroom doors, if that is something that you would need to do in order for your loved one to not access those rooms. And in terms of visuals, these can also be very helpful. Some caregivers like to put decals or stickers on glass doors, and this can prevent someone with dementia from walking through the glass door. And we can also use contrasting colors to increase visibility of items like stairs, handrails, in order for them to safely navigate. Next slide. Falls. Falls are also very common, and they can occur for a variety of different reasons. And falls can happen because of muscle weakness and poor balance. And as Alzheimer's progresses, the limited amount of exercise weakens the muscle strength and balance. So this is why there's problems with balance, vision, and perception. It makes people with Alzheimer's twice as likely to fall. So there's many ways that we can prevent falls. One of the best ways to do this is to install handrails in the tub or shower, other equipment. And we can install swing away or offset door hinges. And if you have received a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, you have certain rights, and you have those rights through the American Disabilities Act. You can ask for a bathroom rail to be installed, and you can call our helpline. We'll provide the number once again at the end if you want more information about this. There's also equipment that you can purchase that wouldn't require permanent change in the home, like grab bars, raised toilet seats with handrails, plastic chair, shower chair. So these are just some home modifications that you can make to make sure that it's easier and safer for both of you. Next slide. Some fall prevention tips. So within the home, like we talked about, installing the rails. If there are any rugs, make sure that they are rubber-based, non-slip, and there's no floor wax. Remove floor clutter, shoes, boxes, cords, all of those can trigger falls, cause falls. And you want to make sure you have good lighting, and you want to have those light switches near the doors or stairs. For the person you're caring for, clothing is very important. You want to make sure it's not too baggy, it's not too long, it doesn't fall under their shoes and cause a fall. And you want good sturdy shoes and comfortable shoes as well. And not shoes with laces. Maybe it's safer to get the Velcro ones. Exercise regularly to strengthen the legs. That's very important. And even if they do have physical limitations, you can still do certain exercises sitting down. And for the caregivers, This is really critical. It's important for us to remind ourselves to not rush. And oftentimes we are rushing because we have to be out the door, we have a doctor's appointment, but we have to be mindful that we need to allow them plenty of time to get dressed, to get ready, because oftentimes when we are rushing them, it's likely that an accident may occur, whether it's related to a fall or a different type of an accident or a behavior. And oftentimes the person that we're caring for, they can sense that we are rushing them. And you know that they don't like that. No one likes to feel like they're being rushed. So it's good that we give them plenty of time. Next slide. Medications. This is also something critical that we need to note. And this is a risk factor because an individual with Alzheimer's disease, they may get sick or be poisoned because of the wrong pills or too many pills were taken. And so people with Alzheimer's disease may mismanage their medications, even if it's in the early stages of the diagnosis. They may simply forget to take their medications, and they may confuse the pills, take too many of a certain kind, or not take an important medicine at all. And this can happen at any stage of the disease. And this can happen with everyone. Everyone who has Alzheimer's disease eventually may need help managing their medications. Next. In order to prevent medication mismanagement, first and foremost, it's important for us to talk to the doctor so we can come up with a plan. And we want to address any concerns that we have and to come up with a strategy that works for both of you. And you want to plan for increased involvement and designate one or two people who are going to manage their medications at home. That may be you or it may be another family member. So this is what that plan consists of. What are the medications? How often does it need to be taken? What is the dosage? How should it be administered? All of that should be written down, and that plan should be shared with anyone who's involved in the care. Next. Here are some safety tips for medications. For organizing, we have to keep a list. We have to keep a list, an updated list of all the medications, the dosage, and we want to keep some important phone numbers on hand as well, like local poison control center, emergency room numbers, local police, just in case. That's also helpful, not just for medication, but overall. In terms of managing medications, we want to keep the medications in its original containers that are clearly labeled. So not in Ziploc bags or not in other containers, because we can easily confuse them with other pills. And if we easily confuse them with other pills, we don't want to accidentally administer the wrong pill. That can be a serious safety concern. For a lot of families, they like to use a pillbox organizer, and some families have AM and PM just to differentiate between the morning and evening pills or afternoon pills. So that's also a really great traditional way to organize and manage the medications. For the caregiver, these are some tips for us. You want to keep a regular schedule when taking medications. This will provide some stability and some predictability, and also it will be part of their routine. And you know your loved one best. You sort of know when they're feeling their absolute best during the day. You can try to give medications when they are feeling best. And you can also keep a whiteboard where you write down the schedule of when they will be taking their medications. So they can all, if they are able to read, they can still read, and it will be like a friendly reminder for them. And when you are administering the medications, you want to use very simple words, give clear instructions in short sentences. For example, it's time to take your medication. And you want to allow plenty of time for them to take the medication. And if it does not work instantly, you can give it about 5-10 minutes come back and try again. Next. Getting lost and wandering. So this is a big topic for today, and we will go into a little bit of detail regarding this common safety concern. So when we go into the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about this. So getting lost and wandering, there are some things that we want to keep on hand. Again, the list of medications, because initially that's the first thing that they will ask. What medications is she taking? What is she currently on? The dosage. All of that information is critical, and it's important for first emergency responders to know that, local police as well. So keep an updated list on hand. Any allergies that they may have, doctors' names and phone numbers, legal paperwork such as power of attorney, insurance information, insurance cards, and a recent photograph. In terms of identification and tracking, there's the Medic Alert bracelet, and that's also an identification bracelet that individuals can wear and caregivers can wear as well. So if something were to happen to the caregiver, emergency responders would know that they are caring for someone with Alzheimer's disease and to check on them. So this is simply an identification bracelet. There's also the California State ID, which is a great way to identify. That's something that you can also keep on hand, and that can be different from a driver's license. Tracking devices, there's all sorts of GPS devices and wristbands that are available. There's all kinds of gadgets out there. But for today's presentation, we'll be focusing on the LA Found tracking bracelets. And these are bracelets that are tracked with radio frequency by the Sheriff's Department. So we will have our representative talk in more detail about how it works and how you can get started to enroll your loved one. In terms of home modifications, alarms, some families choose to install alarms. These can be door alarms or bells, motion detector alarms, bed pad alarms, rug alarms. And these are just to sort of alarm you, or if there's any sort of movement, for you to be aware and for you to take action right away. You can secure doors, cover the doors. For example, I've heard of some cases where family members may put like a install curtain over the door, and so it's not so obvious that it's a door. They may put a stop sign on the door, or they may paint the doorknob the same color as the door, so it's not so visually obvious that it's a doorknob. So there's many different ways that you can get creative with this. Also make sure that you secure the outside. Like if there's any gates, any doors outside, also those are locked and secured, because if they make their way out of the front door, if the gate is locked and other doors are locked, that can be a second prevention step. We also encourage and recommend, if you do keep the shoes, keys, purse, coats, hats, all of those things by the door, it's good practice to keep them away. Maybe put them in a storage room, in a closet, away from the door, because visually this can be triggering. When we see the shoes and the keys and the purse and the coat, it's sort of like a trigger for us. Let's put on our shoes, let's get the keys, grab our wallet, and be out the door. So sometimes it's good practice to make sure that those are put away and not easily visible. Next. So we've covered a lot of great information today. I hope you were able to get some good tips. And I know we covered just 4 of the most common safety concerns, and there are some safety concerns that we didn't cover. But if you do have any questions, and if you do want to get in touch with us, I highly encourage you to do so. Kelly put the phone number in the chat box. We'll also show it to you one more time after this slide. But we have a lot of great programs and services. One of that is the helpline. When you call our helpline, you will receive free support and referrals. Referrals are, if you need an in-home care agency because you're looking for a professional caregiver, or you want to enroll your loved one in an adult day center, we'll be able to provide you with that information. Or if you're not sure where to start, you want to come up with some sort of a plan, you want to address some concerns or have questions, there's care consultations that our social workers provide, and that comes with care planning. Support groups. We have in-person support groups and virtual support groups. This offers a safe space for you to gather with other caregivers. We also have educational classes, sort of like this, but on other topics as well. And you can also get involved by volunteering and fundraising with us. We have a Speakers Bureau program, and if you're interested in becoming a trained speaker for us, you can get in touch with us. We'll provide you with more information. We have a training coming up on that. The next slide is a highlight of some of our social media handles. So there's the helpline again, 844-435-7259. And that's our website, alzheimersla.org. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram. We have also a lot of these videos recorded and uploaded on YouTube. So if you would like to view this video again, send it to a friend, a family member. We'll be uploading this and you can easily share it and rewatch it. And that concludes my portion of the presentation. I hope this was helpful for you today. Thank you all so much. And if you have any questions, I'll still be here.
Thank you very much, Roxy. I'd like to just add, as a former caregiver, all of those tips really came into play for me, and they're absolutely vital. I'd like to remind you, if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom presentation, and we'll get to them at the end. So next up, I'd like to introduce Nitsa Becerra from the LA Found group. LA Found is part of the Los Angeles County Department of Aging and Disabilities. Nitsa?
Thank you, Kirk. Yes, so the LA Found presentation would provide program information and the important safety tools for our most vulnerable populations. Next slide. According to a 2025 report by Alzheimer's Association, about 700,000 Californians aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's. There are approximately 1.4 million unpaid caregivers. In LA County and across California, the number of individuals diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, dementia, autism, and other developmental disabilities continue to rise. Unfortunately, living with Alzheimer's or other dementia everyone living with Alzheimer's or other dementia are at risk for wandering. Some common signs may be, the next slide. Some common signs may be at risk of wandering include returning later than normal from a walk or a drive, forgetting familiar places, recalling past obligations, such as work, and being disoriented in a new or changed environment. Next slide. But before I continue, I would like to share the story behind how LA Found started. As Kirk mentioned, Nancy Polikas was a 55-year-old Manhattan Beach resident. She was an engineer and a businesswoman and was living with early onset dementia. On October 15, 2016, during an outing with her husband, Kirk, she wandered away from the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, prompting a county-wide search. Without a tracking device, her husband, law enforcement, and friends searched tirelessly. 2 years later, Nancy's remains were found. Her story became a catalyst for change, leading to the creation of LA Found, which works to improve coordination, awareness, and recovery efforts for missing individuals across LA County. Next slide, please. The Where is Nancy documentary explores the devastating effects of Alzheimer's and the tragic outcome of Nancy Polikas. We're going to play a short portion of the documentary.
Oh my God. Yeah.
This is Nicholas Ibarra, 86 today in Los Angeles. Beautiful day through the LA basin. Out there in the Inland Empire, temperatures are about the same. We don't have any differences between the valleys and the downtown area today, folks.
Yes, that's a very insightful and educational documentary for that Kirk is sharing with us for regarding Nancy Palika's story. If you want to view the documentary in full, it's available via YouTube. You can scan the QR code and it should take you to the video. Next slide, please. Since about 60% of clients with Alzheimer's and 49% of clients with autism will wander at some point in their lives, LA Found focuses on 4 key points: county coordination, tracking technology, emergency coordination, and social engagement. Next slide. Our mission is to support caregivers of individuals with cognitive impairments at risk of wandering. Our strategy is to educate caregivers if a person goes missing. We promote the use of life-saving technology and provide community awareness. So let's talk about the LA Found program and how we're here to help. Next slide. LA Found partners with 2 types of technology: the Project Lifesaver tracking device and the Theora Care smartwatch. Next slide. The first one is the radio transmitter device from Project Lifesaver International, which is a community-based nonprofit organization that helps protect and quickly locate individuals with cognitive disorders who are prone to wandering. Participants wear this waterproof device normally on the wrist or somewhere on the body where it's meant to stay on the body every day and does not need to be removed. There are guidelines to follow and important emergency protocols, specifically when wearing this bracelet, to keep your loved ones safe in case they wander. If the client goes missing, the responding law enforcement jurisdiction can request assistance from LA County Sheriff's Department's mental health evaluation team to assist in the search. The LA County's MET team will use the client's individualized frequency to pin the client's location. For younger children and those with sensory issues, it can be worn on the shoe, a pocket, or a lanyard. LA Found team members can help explore other options as well of how to wear the device. Next slide. The second device is the GPS Theora Care smartwatch by Clairvoyant Networks. This technology offers an alternative to the Project Lifesaver and is specifically designed to work with an app on the caregiver's phone for tracking. This device is also worn on the wrist as a watch and has a locking tool. There's also an SOS feature and multiple caregiver setup, such as creating a geofence, which will alert the caregiver if a client leaves or enters a safe area. The caregiver can also call the smartwatch, and the watch can be set up to auto answer. Next slide, please. This is the LA Sheriff's Department's MET team that work with the LA Found team. The MET team provides crisis assessment, intervention, and case management to help de-escalate situations, facilitate appropriate placements, and connect individuals with community resources while reducing the use of force and diverting from incarceration. MET also offers training and guidance to families with less restrictive intervention options. They are trained and certified in Project Lifesaver search and coordination and are equipped to save lives. Next slide, please. So who is a caregiver? A caregiver or an agent can be a conservator, someone with power of attorney, a spouse, an adult son or daughter, a person that will be responsible for contacting authorities if the client goes missing and will maintain communication with LA Found for updates, supplies, and for any other type of need for assistance with the devices. Next slide, please. Family caregivers are trained to call 911 immediately. It's best to do it within 15 minutes and use keywords to identify that their loved one is an at-risk person. Provide the device's frequency number if they have the Project Lifesaver device, and provide the special LA Sheriff's Department's MET team phone number to aid first responders. After calling 911, families may contact the LA Found hotline for additional support. LA Found will follow up with both the family and the LA Sheriff's Department's MET team to make sure the search is underway. Next slide. It's very important for caregivers to provide keywords to 911 operators when a client goes missing, such as my parent has Alzheimer's or my loved one has dementia or autism, to ensure that the correct assistance is provided as soon as possible. Next slide. Communication with the LA Found team is very important as we are here to assist in emergencies. We also provide spare parts if necessary, if you need to return a device for any reason, to provide updates with contact information for the clients. And we also provide resource referrals as needed. Next slide. LA Found also conducts other educational webinars. You can see some of our past webinars for the LA Found and Aging and Disabilities via our YouTube channel there. We also attend community outreach events throughout LA County and conduct presentations for our providers and agencies. Next slide. So to apply there is eligibility criteria is simple. All you have to do is have some type of cognitive impairment. The client has to have a cognitive impairment such as autism, Alzheimer's, dementia, traumatic brain injury, and be an LA County resident. There is no income requirement. And sorry. And there are three, next slide. Next slide, there you go. There are three ways you can apply. You can apply by scanning the QR code and it'll take you to our website, or going on our website directly. You can email us at lafound@ad.lacounty.gov for an application to be mailed or emailed. Or you can call 1-833-569-7651 and request an application be mailed or emailed to you as well. Next slide. And this is just our team, our LA Found team at this moment. It's our program manager, our program manager is Alex Gomez, our acting human services administrator is Cynthia Lopez. Qua is our community service analyst, as well as myself, Nitza Becerra. And next slide. And thank you very much. This concludes our presentation. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you very much, Nitza. So let's get to some of the questions. One of the first questions was about locking the bathroom doors. So if the dementia patient needs to go to the restroom quite a bit, then what should we do besides locking the doors? So I'm going to send that over to Roxy to answer.
Just so that I understand clearly, so the individual, the patient has to use the restroom frequently, but the caregiver wants other alternatives other than locking the door?
Correct.
Okay. Well, every situation is different. And it really depends what is best for you. So if they do have to go to the bathroom regularly, and if they do need some assistance, it's okay to continue to leave the doors locked. And as soon as you see that they are heading towards the bathroom, you can go and assist them if that's an option. But if you don't entirely, you don't want to lock the doors of the restroom, then it would be best to modify the bathroom to make sure that everything in the bathroom is designed to make it work for them. So the rails that we talked about, the grab bars, raised toilet seat, no rugs that are slip, no floor wax, none of that. Um, so if they do have to use the restroom frequently, then you would just have to modify the restroom to make sure that it would be safe for them to continue to use it. And then you providing as much assistance as necessary and as needed.
Thanks, Roxy.
I hope
That's
that
great.
answered the question. It's such a very general, general thing, and every situation is so different.
Right. I think that your advice about making sure that the bathroom is a safe place for them to go is probably that way to, I mean, that, obviously the person might get up at night to use the restroom or something like that, so it's hard to be 100% on top of that. So I think that's a clearing the bathroom of any problems is probably a really good suggestion. Okay, the next question is for the helpline and other support. What are the language capacities for Alzheimer's Los Angeles? So the person asking the question, the family speaks Tagalog, and so we're wondering if we have the support for that. Roxy, do you know the different languages that we have for Alzheimer's Los Angeles?
Yes, as of now, we can provide support in Spanish and Chinese Mandarin. However, we can use assistance from third-party translators to be able to communicate with languages that we don't support. So we will our care counselors will be able to use a line, a translator line to be able to support a family speaking Tagalog.
Okay, and we're going to stick with you, Roxy. Do you have some tips on how to keep somebody with dementia active when they really just don't like to um, leave the home and doesn't, or even the room? How do we keep them active if they sort of just want to stay in the same place?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's really about matching the activities to their skills and their abilities. Of course, you don't want to push them into something that they physically cannot do. But like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, even if you can do seated exercises, there's a lot of great videos on YouTube that will walk you through this as well. So even if they are sedentary and they have physical limitations and they prefer to be sitting down more, but you still want to exercise, you keep them active, like move their legs. And this is critical for preventing falls and strengthening muscles and balance. So there's exercises that you can do seated, sitting down, arm exercises, leg exercises. But if they can stand up and they can move, you can even try something as simple as putting on some music, holding their hand, and guiding them to a dance. You can get them moving. And if it's safe for them to walk around the living room or walk around the house, you can guide them into doing that as well. So it's really about just finding creative ways to get movement, and any movement is better than no movement. So even if they can't do any sort of exercise, any vigorous exercise, any movement that they can do, even sitting down, um, even bits of movement around the house will be beneficial.
Thanks. So I just add to that my personal experience is that doing things with your loved one was really helpful. So if you're doing it together to making it more of a fun activity, even if it's just like chair yoga or something like that, they're much more likely to participate in that if you're doing it with them. Okay, Roxy, this is one of our hardest questions that we get all the time, but are there activities that can help mitigate, slow, or prevent dementia?
That's a great question. Yes, we do receive that quite often. Um, there's many brain exercises, cognitive stimulation that we can engage in to not necessarily prevent, because there's no single identifiable way to prevent dementia. But there are things that we can do to keep our brains active. Absolutely. And it's all about finding things that you like, that you enjoy, but that are also going to be challenging for you. So one thing that comes up very often are things like Sudoku and crossword puzzles. Often people will ask, can I do Sudoku crossword puzzles to prevent dementia? There's no yes or no. So if Sudoku and crossword puzzles are challenging for you and you enjoy doing them, absolutely continue to do that. But at some point, you will get the hang of it and it will start to become easy, you know? So you have to find something more challenging. So the best things that you can do for your brain are things that are going to challenge you and things that are going to be pleasurable for you. And one of the best ways to exercise your brain are things like learning a new language or learning how to play a new musical instrument. So those are some of the challenging, meaningful ways, but there's no single one way, single identifiable way to prevent dementia. But absolutely, there's things that we can do. And we have a whole class on this, healthy brain habits. So if you're interested in learning more, we have some upcoming classes that you can register for on our website.
Right. And actually the number one healthy brain exercise is the same thing you do to prevent other um, problems like hypertension and things like that, which is getting regular exercise and having a very healthy diet. Those things have been shown time and time again to really uh, help at least delay the onset of dementia if you were going to get it. So I'm sorry, there were some other questions, but we're out of time. So I'd like to wrap up. I again appreciate very much all of you for participating in this. If you have a minute, I'd really appreciate if you would take a survey at the end of this that's going to pop up. That really helps us direct the webinars in the future and to make them more useful to you. Thank you again, and I hope everybody has a great day.